A man walks into a car showroom with no intention of buying anything. The salesman doesn't know that yet, because nothing about this guy says money. No watch, no logo, no visible signal of anything. Just ordinary. The kind of person the salesman has learned to walk past. But he doesn't walk past him today. He starts the pitch anyway. Financing options, down payment, 60 months, sometimes 72, the usual script. And the man cuts him off with one question. Not about price, not about horsepower. If I buy this, how long does my life get tied to it? That question doesn't belong in a showroom, because the entire system is built on the assumption that people don't ask it. And that's the first illusion. Not money, but time.
Most people don't realize it, but every major purchase today is actually a subscription to your own future. And once you see that, something uncomfortable starts to appear. We don't really buy cars anymore. We buy monthly obligations. We just dress them up as ownership. Most of us believe wealth is something you can spot instantly. Expensive car, big house, the right brands. But here's the first reversal that breaks everything. Modern wealth is almost impossible to identify by looking at someone, because the loudest signals of money are often completely disconnected from financial strength, and the quietest lives are often sitting on the strongest foundation. In fact, a growing number of high earners are financially fragile, not poor, just overextended. Research in personal finance consistently shows something strange. A large share of people earning six figures still live paycheck to paycheck. Not because they earn too little, but because their lifestyle expands faster than their income. And that detail changes everything, because it means the problem is not income, it's perception. We stopped asking, "What can I afford?" and started asking, "What should someone like me have?" That shift sounds small, but it rewires financial behavior completely. Because human beings were never wired to understand money directly. We were wired to understand status. For thousands of years, survival depended on reading social hierarchies instantly. Who has resources? Who has power? Who is safe? So the brain built a shortcut. If it looks expensive, it must mean security. If it looks impressive, it must mean success. But here's the problem. That shortcut evolved in a world where signals were honest. Now they are not. A car can be financed for 72 months. A lifestyle can be built on credit. A social image can be maintained even while financial pressure quietly builds underneath. Which means what you see is no longer proof of wealth. It's proof of commitment. And commitment has a cost nobody sees. Here's where psychology takes over completely. Every time someone feels slightly behind in life, the brain searches for the fastest correction. And there is one option that works instantly: spending. Not because it builds wealth, but because it removes discomfort. For a moment. That's the part nobody talks about. A purchase doesn't solve financial stress, it interrupts emotional stress. And the brain learns that interruption very quickly, so it repeats it. This is where lifestyle inflation begins. Not when people become rich, but when they redefine what normal looks like. A small raise doesn't stay small for long. It gets absorbed immediately. A better car lease, a nicer apartment, a slightly higher standard of living. And just like that, the raise disappears. Not because it was wasted, but because it was absorbed by identity. And here's the part people miss. Lifestyle inflation doesn't just increase spending. It increases dependency. A more expensive car doesn't just cost more. It raises the minimum income required to maintain your life. A nicer home doesn't just improve comfort. It raises the financial floor you now have to stand on every month. Slowly, invisibly, People build lives that require constant output just to stay in place.
From the outside, it looks like progress. From the inside, it feels like pressure. And pressure is expensive in ways people don't measure because it removes options, and options are where wealth actually lives. Now, here's the reversal almost nobody sees coming. If you study people who quietly build long-term wealth, a pattern appears that feels almost unnatural at first. They don't chase lifestyle expansion. They delay it, sometimes indefinitely. Income goes up, life barely changes. And instead of visible upgrades, something else accumulates in the background. Flexibility. Not the kind you can show, the kind you can use. Flexibility means you can walk away from pressure. Flexibility means you don't panic when something breaks. Flexibility means your life doesn't collapse when income pauses. And that changes everything. Because now wealth stops being about appearance
And starts being about resistance. That's why many high net worth individuals appear ordinary in daily life, not because they are trying to hide, but because signaling stopped producing returns. At some point, visibility becomes expensive, and freedom becomes the priority. Meanwhile, most people stay stuck in the opposite loop. Income rises, lifestyle adjusts, obligations expand, and financial freedom never arrives. Because every increase gets converted into appearance instead of optionality. That's the core misunderstanding of modern money. We treat wealth as something you display, but real wealth behaves like something you remove pressure with. It is not what you show. It is what you no longer need to protect. A job you don't have to take. A decision you don't have to rush. A crisis you can absorb without collapse. And those moments don't show up on social media. They show up in silence. So when you go back to that showroom, the question changes. It's no longer about whether the car is affordable. It's about what kind of life it quietly commits you to. The man didn't walk out with a car that day. He walked out with something far less visible. Room to breathe. And that is the part most people never calculate. Because in the end, wealth was never about what you can show people. It was about what you no longer need to explain. And the people who understand that don't look richer. They just stop paying for the appearance of being rich.